Welcome back to another episode of the Blitz Break. I'm your host, Phil Rasmussen, and we're back here on a Friday morning. Excited to come to you. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host and partner in crime here, Mr. Buzz Howard.
How you doing? It's been a good week.
Been a good week.
Quick
week. I feel like it's been, we're going to have to figure out the accent and the general Texan in you is a little muted, so we'll have to find out how and why that's affected.
I got to call home, get back into it.
A little bit, yeah. I just got to ask you a few questions that bring you back. And once again, our co-host and our resident guest schedule, coordinated social media guru, title and mortgage expert, Julie Schroyer. Welcome back.
So glad to be back. A lot of travel these last couple weeks, but I'm so glad to be back here.
It's not the same when you're not here.
Oh, okay.
You've been all over the place. You've been jumping around.
All over the place. Yes. I'm just happy. Next couple weeks I'm here. I'm not traveling.
What's your feeling on travel these days? Because I have a way different perspective on traveling than I did when I was in my 20s and 30s.
I don't love travel. I don't. I don't like packing. I don't like checking in. I don't like getting my bag out of the top of the airplane. No. I'm a no.
I'm kind of the same way.
Yeah.
I used to travel 230, 240 days out of the year for years and years. And it just seems that now it's such a hassle. Mm-hmm. And I don't like the look on my cat's face when I start packing my bags. They're going, "Where are you going?" I'm not going to be fed for like 2 or 3 days, right?
See, I don't like the look on my wife's face or my kid's face of excitement that I'm going to be gone. So
that's great. Well, I don't like traveling with my husband because he makes me carry a carry-on. So then I pack it very full, and then I can't get it in the overhead bin. It's just a nightmare.
I've gotten to where I don't unpack. So I have a travel. So I have clothes that go with me on any trip.
Okay.
And toilet, there is a contingent of clothes that just go in the wash, come out, get put back in that same suitcase, and then I just have to grab a couple. And I have like dress shirts that just, if I don't wear them, they stay folded. Because packing is my least favorite thing to do. I don't mind traveling. I don't like packing, so why not just leave it all there?
That's smart. That's a good.
My girl, she stresses me because she absolutely. It doesn't matter how long we're going to be gone. We could be going for a 2-week vacation, and she absolutely won't start packing until about midnight the night before we leave.
That's a girl thing.
And then we can't sleep, and you have to get up at 4 to go to the airport, and I'm a nervous wreck until we get to the airport.
I might need some alcohol. You just PTSD'd me from my life right now. Every trip, every vacation starts with that experience.
That's true.
It is
a girl thing, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's crazy. And I'll tell you, this was probably a couple of years ago. We were going on a company trip down to, I believe we were going to Mexico, and we had to stop somewhere. I'll make it short. We had to stop at the marina to pick up something that we left at the boat that we wanted to take. So we jumped out of the car, ran down to the boat. We were maybe 5 minutes, and someone had broken the back of the car window and took our bags. And so we had to scramble. We didn't make our flight, but we had to scramble. I had to buy like 12 new pairs of underwear just to be able to go on vacation.
For one day?
Well, one day. It's a problem as you get older. It's
Oh, man.
But, it always just makes me so nervous. And about midnight.
Yep.
She's
packing.
Then it's chaos.
Coloring her hair. I probably should have said that. I'm going to be in trouble, aren't I?
No, you're fine.
No, it's chaos. It's actually interesting. We got the female perspective here. It's good to know I'm not the only one. First day of vacation is usually just sleep. So we get to wherever it is, and then it's like, well, we just need to sleep and instead of enjoying it. But good to know. And I will quantify. They're not that excited for me to leave. They're more excited when I get back. But it's
we'll
fun.
Have to
it's
see
fun.
that.
Yeah, we have to bring her on and have her validate whether that's true or not. But so. Talk about where you were going, Julie. What was keeping you from your Sacramento home base?
Oh yeah, a trip to Monterey for our birthday, which was beautiful, Spanish Bay, and it was just perfect weather. And then a company kind of convention summit in San Diego. So that's where I was. Beautiful. Both trips were amazing.
Cannot
But in between,
complain.
I did get to see Hal Elrod at the Sacramento Association of Realtors.
How was that?
I did.
Love his book. I don't know how many years ago I read it.
A while, like maybe 15?
At least.
About 15 for me.
So what's your take on it?
I started his 6 precepts about 15 years ago. They completely changed my life. And then it was nice to go again. And he's kind of updated and made it a more applicable for today. So it was great to hear that. So I'd love to talk about those 6
so
precepts.
This is all from memory.
Yeah.
So the first thing is meditation. He talks about silence.
Yep.
So silence.
And then he talks about positive affirmations.
Affirmations.
And then you get into exercise.
Next is visualization.
Oh, visualizations. Okay.
Yep.
And then exercise.
Yep.
And then reading and
Scribing.
Scribing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, starting it off on the silence component, that could be like a devotional, prayer, meditation, could be any of that. Just silence to reflect on like what's happened and what's going to happen. It kind of lets you like reset.
Both Phil and I have problems with silence.
It's a hard one for me too.
I actually just pick the mood. Sometimes silence is my favorite thing. I would rather not speak. Other times,
And your mind doesn't wander, because my mind wanders on everything I have to do during the day. So I have a hard time with that one.
I've never taken a course or anything on how to meditate, but I'm the same way. If I sit down and I consciously say, okay, I'm going to try to block everything, my mind just goes into overdrive.
Right.
It's like, and then it's like, what else could I be doing besides sitting here? Oh, I could go wash the clothes, or I could, So
Right.
my mind doesn't allow me to shut it down.
I agree. I think we need to back up a little bit for the viewers and talk about the reason he came up with these 6 precepts. He took everything that the top 1% most productive people in the world do. And these are the 6 things that they all had in common. And that's how he built the book, The Miracle Morning. And I think that's so powerful, because these people somehow were the most productive. So what were they doing to start their day? And these are the 6.
And this is all supposed to be before 8:00.
Yep.
Yes. I mean, ideally, what time do you guys get up?
I'll let you go first.
Well, unfortunately, I usually wake up about 5:30.
Okay.
I try to force myself back, but I'm always up at 5:30 for some reason. Without an alarm clock, it's just, I think it's age.
So naturally you get up at 5:30.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
And I try to read, because I'm not going to, I don't do a whole lot. So I do start trying to do some of those items, and a lot of it's reading blogs and that type of stuff. And I do take notes, and, I pull out my phone and I send myself,
Little
notes and things like that, articles that I like and that I want to talk about, that type of stuff.
Yeah, I'm a 5 a.m. is when I naturally wake up. If it's a weekend, I can go back to bed. But we've got the kids to get ready, so I get usually about 45 to an hour before my morning stops being my own. And it's the kids, and luckily my wife, she handles most of the morning stuff. But the getting the kids up, like, it's kind of my job to get them up so that they're not like grouchy, going and
so
dad mess with them. And my son's the best at that. I can just go in and roughhouse with him, and that'll usually get him out of bed. The girls are a little more finicky.
They don't appreciate
respond
you
the same
knocking
way.
them on the head or dripping water on their forehead.
Right? Yeah, he does. He finds that. But for me, the silence and the visualization is one of the ones, like, that's you talk about a productive morning. It's that, you always hear about people that like thinking in the shower and all that, and it's because it's usually attached to silence and visualization, right? Because you're kind of trapped in one place. You're thinking. You're not really allowed to kind of wander, because you're in a lot of cases, right, your brain is in this perfect state. And I have a really long kind of training in my brain as an athlete and as a coach, where you do these physical things that help put your brain in a particular state to set the stage, and then your brain helps set the stage for you to be in a physical peak state, and those complement each other. And so like being physically busy doing a task that is mindless, that allows your brain to fixate on deeper thinking, I think is like a great thing to get into in the morning. What I'm currently trying to leverage more is using ChatGPT and some of these other tools to get all that thinking documented faster. Like you talked about sending notes. I used to do that forever, but sometimes the task of writing down the notes and organizing it and becomes almost counterproductive to the free-flowing thinking. And that's where I've personally seen a lift in that state, is like even speaking it is kind of a disruption of the thinking. But okay, state the idea, don't talk back to me right now, just absorb it, and then at the end of the day, end of the morning. But I think that like the two, silence, visualization for me is everything. Like seeing where I want to go.
Yeah, I do a lot of visualization. My mornings, when I work out in the mornings and get that done, I find that that's the most productive days for me, because as I work out, I actually visualize
looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yes, exactly. But I actually visualize what the tasks that I have to do, the things that the goals that are the overarching piece of it. And so as I'm working out, that's exactly what I'm thinking about the whole time, is what are those tasks that need to be done? Are there ways that they can be done differently than what I'm thinking? And I almost always come up with answers at those times of the mornings. Even though you may go to sleep going, gosh, I got to do this and that, it's usually in the morning when you're fresh and no one's talking to you, you're doing your workout. I come up with a lot of answers.
Yeah, and I think it's important to remember that a lot of people do pieces of the 6, but they don't do the entire 6.
Very true.
And I think that going into 2026, if you could commit, you don't have to do them for like 10 minutes. They're not like segmented times. Like if you exercise for 20, you might do visualization for 5, but they're built really to do in 1 hour.
Yep.
So my workout is about 20 minutes. So I can do that. It's my exercise segment, visualization, 5, 5, 5, 10, whatever. But I think it's important that you do them all because it's designed that way. Like you were touching on it. Each one is designed to trigger the next one.
Exactly.
And I think if we go through each element, they all build on each other.
That's the biggest point, is that they each make the other better. Mm-hmm. And people that talk about exercise, there's so much undeniable evidence about what that does for us all, right? Forget the obvious, physical benefits, right? The endorphins, the energy, but there's an element that I don't think gets talked about enough of, again, when your brain is occupied with a physical action, your brain is being, locked into, I need to, lift this, move this, run, jog, whatever. That helps to pull parts of the distracting thoughts and the different things that would generally pull you away from your deeper thinking. And it's part of the reason you're able to stay locked in, is because that other part of your brain is consumed by your physical activity. That's why I think a lot of times, like people that run, say when I run, or like Aaron or Kurt Reisig biking, right? Like your thinking becomes really, really complex and uninterrupted because you're physically pulling your brain into another space.
You're getting more oxygen, you're boosting your metabolism. I mean, we go on for an hour about the benefits of exercise. And I think that's a big one that people skip, or they'll do it at night. And I think it's, in my opinion, so much better in the morning because it just sets up and fuels you for the rest of the day. For
sure. Well, and the opportunity to start a workday, I think people don't realize, that don't do this or that aren't in the successful space, right, is if we all have 8 hours in a day on a work day, right, how productive are you within those 8, right? So if you hit your 8 and you're already hit the ground running, you're already locked in, you already know what your to-do list is, you're already ready to do it, and it's just a matter of now doing it, you're going to get out 2 hours ahead of the person who's going to come in and go, okay, what do I need to get done today? Right. And then they're going to go through that whole process and and as silly as and obvious of a statement is what I'm making is at the moment, that is okay, you got 6 hours done. They got 8. You're 2 hours behind, and you do that 5 days in a row, and guess what? You're already 10 hours behind. You're a full day behind, and it compounds. And the next thing you know, I know for me, at my peak number of people that I was responsible for, as things were going really crazy, as I was involved with helping grow one of the companies I was with, emails and all the disruptions in the day were so significant. I went in my day started at 5. Like I was in my office at 5, and it was 3 hours of the uninterrupted day. And I was like, one whole day's worth of work I felt like I got done before the 8 a.m. Clock struck. And then I got to deal with people. And then that last hour until 6, 7 was my additional. And so I would leave and I go, I think I got 2 to 3 days worth of work done. And I did that day after day, and I felt so far ahead.
Yeah.
Not everybody can do that, but that kind of exemplifies the point. And I can't do it as much. I got, the kids have grown up. So that piece and having a routine, it's hugely important.
Huge.
And he's brought together undeniable traits, and we're all looking for, how do I replicate and consistently become successful? And that's the routine. So I feel like crap today. Tired. Don't want to get going. You go exercise, the endorphins. Now you don't feel like it's crap anymore, and now the brain starts working. Like, it's very simple in its
it is
impact.
simple. And I think and my daughter taught me this. She's really into fitness, Casey. She's works out, but she's like, Mom, you really don't need to work out that long. Like, you can do a full body workout in under 30 minutes. Just a basic, and when you get older, when you're over 40 or 50, you don't want to work out that hard because you create cortisol, and we can go into another discussion.
Any advices for 90 plus?
Just don't do it. Stay off the high beam.
The best exercise is like walking. People really underestimate walking, and for women too. Walking, they're saying, is much more healthier than running. I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for that, but the reason it's healthier than running is it doesn't hurt your internal organs. There's not as much
the bouncing and
and they're saying that walking briskly is almost better. So I'm doing that.
Running does jar the body.
Yes,
and they say that if you're going to do something like that, bicycling is so much better. Swimming, they say, is even better because it has less impact on the body.
Yes,
and gets the same types of benefits. Actually, swimming, I think, engages more of the muscles than
undoubtedly. I personally have like trauma against it. I wasn't a big swimmer growing up, basketball, baseball, but we did that a lot in our workouts, and there are some of the most miserable workouts of my, athletic career involved being in a pool, doing water polo style workouts, which I was like, crazy kudos to, water polo players and the things they go through. But,
oh my gosh,
the idea of like, hey, figure out how to hold a brick or a medicine ball above your head in the water, while you're treading water and, swimming. But as far as like conditioning and low impact, low stress, high physical exertion, high lung capacity, oxygenation, like those are all things that swimming is incredibly, effective for. I just, my brain goes into the memory mode, so I'm not a big swimmer myself, but it's way healthier, and it would probably be better. Same thing with biking. I think people I have back issues, people have knee issues.
Yep.
And it was like the jarring, and they talk about heart health with running, and people's mechanics of running can actually increase the level of the jarring versus all of that. Yeah.
So
I respect runners though. Those elite runners. We have a lady that works here. Her name is Christy, and she's actually writing a book that I've been really pushing her to do, but she just competed in one of the 100-mile runs where like they actually run 100 miles.
That actually happens.
And she's writing a book about her journey. The first year that she tried it, she hurt herself like at mile 75 or something, which, heartbreaking. And then she came back the next year and trained and actually was able to complete the 100 miles. To me, that like gives me chills, just the dedication. So I'm in awe of runners. Because I'm a horrible runner. In school, I was a sprinter, and so out past about 220 yards, it's like, okay, let's get a cab because this is way too far.
I will say this: runners, to your point with as a guy who did it, I have the same admiration as you do for it. As like basketball and baseball is my thing. I could run for days, but I had to be chasing a ball, or I had to have a goal to score, a point to score, a base to reach.
The moment that it's just out on the track.
So when you're just out on the track, I never enjoyed the long distance running, right? Like I'm not chasing anything, so I never enjoyed that. But what for me, in order to be to be successful at it or compete at it. And to kind of get the benefits of it, I always had to go into my head and find visualizing playing in a game. I'm pushing myself because I want to be able to guard at this point in the game. I want to be able to get to this spot, make this shot. And I'm pulling myself into all the other places in your brain so that you kind of lose, again, what you're physically doing is there and you're aware, but you're focused on other stuff. And if you talk about all the successful runners and bikers, long distance people, they have an insane mental fortitude and capacity to go to a place where, yes, you're paying attention to your rate, your pace, all the things that are involved with how well you're performing, but they are in another place mentally, and they're gone. And it's such a powerful, most of those people are intensely successful.
Agreed.
People in general.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's just, I have to, when I was younger and I would go out and I used to try to be long distance and I had to trick myself into, like you're saying, chasing a ball or whatever the case is. I used to say, oh, the race is to that telephone pole, and you'd pick something out and you'd be like, yay. And I've made it. And then you have to pick the next telephone pole. And the next, because I had to trick myself that way too, but just incredible. There's a guy online that if you ever want to go to YouTube and really, he's just got this amazing way of talking about motivation and success, and it's called Your World Within. I don't know if you've ever found it. I think his name is Eddie Perino or Perina. Your World Within, and he talks about, he's a runner, and he talks about as he's running the things that he's thinking about and success and motivation and it's just it's almost zen like when you're listening to him. You're going and you can almost visualize how he does his runs, and it's really good.
Interesting.
So what on the other part, because I think the creating the categories the way that he did and helping people understand it is part of the power.
It's an acronym, SAVERS. It's SAVERS. So if you're following along, just write that down. That'll help you remember. SAVERS. So silence, we talked about. Affirmations, we talked about. Visualization, which we haven't. Really powerful in his presentation because a lot of what you accomplish is 90% your subconscious mind. So if that really is true, you really need to feed your mind what you want, if that makes sense. So like your goals in front of you or visualization of where you're going for the year would be like key in 2026. So I want this in 2020, and you put it in front of you every day, and your mind subconsciously works to attain what's in front of you visually. Like so powerful.
That not just subconsciously problem solving for the ways that you can chase that, right? Because it's staying, but also visualizing how you're going to execute it becomes like, that's the other part that I need to go get this done today. If you can picture yourself and visualize yourself doing that, when you get there, it's comfortable. And I use that as an athlete and any successful athlete. Like we were just talking about Barry Bonds and Gary Sheffield and all these guys, right? That pitch that's come, they've already visualized it 1,000 times, a million times in their head. Like nothing about it is unfamiliar because you've already experienced it, which to be successful, when you're in the moment of executing, if it feels like you've been there 10,000 times already, you're going to respond that way versus, okay, I'm in it and I don't know how to do it or how am I going to react. So not only goals and inspiration, but also just comfort with being in that environment. And I know a lot of people who don't understand the importance of, all right, I'm going to an event. And you're great. You're social connector galore, right? You know, before you go into an event, you visualize, like, how are you going to engage? How are you going to react to people? How are you going to approach? Versus take somebody who's uncomfortable in social situations. They haven't really created a comfort level and visualization of, like, how do I come off? How do I react? How do I interact? I know that's a kind of a somewhat cyber, but that's like the kind of thing that visualization sometimes gets pigeonholed into. I want to make $1 million. I want to visualize that, but there's no specifics of, like, executing that come out of it.
Well, studies will show that visualization, when your mind, take a dream, for instance, it's real to you. Even when you wake up, your body is reacting to a dream that wasn't real. So the things that you visualize are almost as though they've already happened to you. And so you see
Very
it
true.
in you see it in athletics all the time. Take a springboard. They're up on the 3-meter tower. You see them walk out to the edge, and you can visually see them going through what they're getting ready to do. They're visualizing it.
Absolutely.
There's a really cool video of the Blue Angels, and I don't know if you've ever seen it. And it got music over it, and it shows them, the saluting and all this kind of stuff. But it shows these guys sitting in the room. They've got their flight suit on, and it's before they walk out to go get in the plane. And you can see them doing the moves that they're going to do, and they're actually moving their hands, and they're leaning their body, and they're already visualizing everything that they're going to do in that plane. And so every walk of life, everything that you do, visualization is so powerful, because if you can see it, you can do it. If you can see yourself there, there's a way for you to get there. It's just a fact.
Well, confidence comes from it too. Like,
Yep.
a lot in the sports world, but I'm gonna make the connection here that I use all the time, right? So before a game, as a player and then as a coach, you go through scouting reports and you anticipate plays that the other team is going to run, and so you see cues of, like, when this guy moves here and then this happens over here, this is what's happening on the back end. And as a player, you've now gotten the information, you've visualized it, and now you're in the middle of the game and a million things are going on, and all of a sudden you see, boom, he goes there, oh, that's happening, I know exactly what's happening, and the instinct fires, and not only are you not just reactive, like, you're confident that you already know what's about to go down, and then you can make plays. And, like, the entire goal is how much of that can you put into any game, right, that allows you to then react in all the other areas, but you've got all this benefit of having seen yourself. Take yourself going into a sales presentation or going into a boardroom to make a pitch or sitting down in a conversation with a customer. If you've already visualized the types of things that they're going to ask, the things that they're going to bring to you, when it happens, it's like, I'm prepared for that. I already saw that. And as that goes along, your confidence increases. And I think the people that visualize, you can see the difference in their confidence, because their reaction isn't a reactive, oh, what do I do? They're like, oh, I knew this was coming. I was already ready for this.
Well, we're training new loan officers. We've got a few new loan officers. Yesterday, in our training meeting, one of the new loan officers was really excited that they had. I've got a new loan application. I've got a conversation. I've got a call at 12:30, and I could see that she was worried about. I don't know what I'm going to say. What is? So I kind of said, well, let's not talk about what we were going to train on. Let's go through this conversation. And I had the others there, and I told them, I said, I'm going to be the loan officer. I want you to be the buyers, and I want you to just, ask me all the questions that you think these people would ask, any weird questions. And they would ask it, and then I would come up with an answer, and then we'd stop, and I'd say, now why did I say this or that? And we would dissect almost every question, like, well, what are interest rates today? I hear the feds are going to lower interest rates next week. Hey, should I wait? And all these questions about, well, why do I need this paperwork? And we would go through those and walk them through that. And that visualization of, hearing someone answer the questions and then me turning around and saying, so how would you change my words to make it your own? And she went through the call. Of course, I was in another meeting, and when she walked by my door, she had this big smile, and she goes, went great. And so that whole thing with visualization, regardless of how you do it, it's so important in life.
It is, and I think we forget to do it sometimes.
I was just gonna. That was gonna be the question I was gonna ask both. Like, which one out of that do you think the average person, or which ones doesn't do as often, right? Because the point of what he compiled, right, is the most successful people, the top 1%, they do all of these things and they do them consistently, but that's not what the 99% of others do. So which ones do we think are the most difficult? Which ones do, I think are the easiest? Like, how do you kind of look at the breakdown as
For me, I think just leading sales teams and listening to how they start their mornings, from my experience, I think the two that they do probably the most is probably exercise and maybe read, like a devotional or a self-help book. Those are probably the two that they often do, but I don't think the majority do silence. I don't think they do affirmations. Very few probably do visualization. And then scribing and writing, maybe 50%, but I would say those people practice 2 of the 6, which is why there's only 1%. But I mean, if I'm being honest, it's a lot. And even, us 3 sitting here, we don't do a lot of them. Like, seriously.
No.
Do we really do them right, or do we just kind of wing it? And I think
I can't say that I do the silence and meditating.
Right. I don't think any of us do it intentionally, like that, all 6, right? You don't.
Yeah,
like
I'm going to be more intentional in 2026, I think. Yeah, and the 2 we haven't talked about, we've talked about exercise, which is next after visualization, and then you go into reading. And I think reading, and it doesn't have to be a lot, but I think he suggests like a chapter in a self-help book or a, religious book, whatever you want to better yourself, really makes you think about concepts you may have not thought about before, which is helping you grow. And if you're growing, that's where you want to be, always on a daily basis.
And I think that I'm guilty of not doing the reading very often. And I think there's a lot of aspects to it. Partially, to me, I think in today's day and age, the reading can be substituted with even like obviously audiobooks, or it's absorbing other ideas.
It's not social media.
Exactly. Not it isn't, as much as we promote it, right? It isn't.
Not scrolling.
Unless you identify with some accounts that are intentionally designed to help people with ideas like this.
Yeah.
To me, the discipline around being willing to read, I think, takes a little bit of thought around what do you want to absorb each morning, right? And affirmations are around confidence and positivity and belief. And like I've said before, my son always gives me a hard time, and he's a funny little character where he's just like, Dad, not everything is a lesson. And I'm like, yeah, everything is a lesson, kiddo. Like, life is one big lesson. Like, yeah, we can go watch the Batman movie and there's lessons in it. And he's like, well, why do you have to tell me? I'm like, because I don't know any other way to operate. But in reading, what are you trying to take away? I think some people start their days and their reading maybe isn't as well thought out about what will help them, right? Like, for me, what helps me is a very easy to read or very easy to listen, thought-provoking idea that inspires me. That gets me off and running. But if I get too detailed too early, it might have the opposite effect. But I'm curious what your take is on that.
So I love a devotional book because it really resets your day. But also, like, incorporating like the Compound Effect, the Slight Edge. Those are books where you could just read one chapter and get so much from it. to really apply and execute in your daily practices. And those are two of my favorites, by the way. And
the compound effect?
The compound effect and the slight edge.
Who is the compound effect?
I can't, it's on the tip of my tongue.
It's sitting on my desk right now in my pile. It's a great book.
I don't know. I know it, but I can't think of it.
I was thinking, you know what I do? Sometimes I've been doing this business for, 40 years. And
I'll leave that joke alone.
Darren
Hardy.
Darren Hardy.
Yes. We had him speak at one of our conferences.
You did.
And he was fantastic. And I believe in those concepts, the compounding. But my previous life was teaching mortgages and those kinds of things. And so over the years, I almost think that my brain is as I read too much on it, because every morning that's what I do. I get up and I have a week long, like some blogs only come out on Tuesday. So I have to catch it on Tuesday. And so I have all of these different writers and owners of companies that I read their stuff. I like what you said about devotions, and maybe kind of weird if we swerve into religion, but I don't mind. I have a friend that him and I went to college together. Him and I are soulmates. I mean, we're best friends. And over the last, I'm going to say 5 years, 6 years, he started having a lot of health problems. So much that I thought that he would probably die from it. Mm-hmm. He had all this bone problems, and he's had from his feet all the way to the top of his back. He's had just about every joint, replaced and all that. I thought that he would either die or he had commit suicide. And this last time that I was in Dallas just a month ago, I spent a couple of days with him, and he has really gotten involved with his church in Dallas and really started living that life. He actually went to the church and started doing Bible study with some high school kids, and it has turned his life, I don't know what you'd call it, 180 degrees.
Yep.
And every morning, him and I go back and forth now with devotions, and he's not cancer-free, but he's pain-free and a bunch of other things, and his life has just changed. It's, our friends group, it's like, this is truly a miracle. First of all, just to get him to go to church. Yeah. But it's meant so much to me over the last 3-4 weeks, because he sends me these devotionals, and then I kind of lean in and follow the rabbit hole. But what about you? You said devotions?
Yeah, I did. So I'm faith-based.
Yes.
My husband's actually a pastor at Bayside Church. Did you know that?
I
knew he was
did
part
know
of
he
it.
was the pastor. So the one
He's
here
not
in Roseville.
The pastor. He leads the Bayside Business Leaders Group at Bayside Church.
So then he probably works closely with Danielle Holiday and
I know the names. But yeah, I think, and people are being a little bit more outspoken with their faith with the whole Charlie Kirk incident.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, you're noticing that. And so for me, I've been a Christian my whole life, but starting my day out, with the devotion, it resets my day, like gives me hope and lets all my fears, anxiety, everything that's bothering me, I just like give it to him. And that's where I find my peace. So that's, for me, it resets my entire day. And I think it's important. And I think, even Bayside Church, their attendance is up, I think like 25 to 30%, because people are looking for, what's missing. And I think that your faith really can fill that void.
Well, there's two parts. 100% agree with you both. And contextually with that, to me, there's two aspects. One, books you mentioned. I've always been a big fan of the John Maxwell books, and I love just like
John
the simplicity.
Maxwell, yeah.
Same thing. Read a chapter. Love the way the different angles he'll produce. The ideas, like how successful people think, lead. Like they're all different books, and it's just it's the same concepts, just restructured into a different point or different audience. Always love those because they're like quick, easy, just put me in the right state of mind. That is such a great
call out. He was actually at Bayside Leaders Group speaking, John Maxwell, and his books are short and precise. And
they're small. Easy to, like, everything about it is like I would read them on the plane when I was traveling a ton. I would read them on the plane all the time, and just to help, like, quick ideas. But I think the point that you're making specifically around faith is not, doesn't even have to go to the depth for everyone. It's a recognition that our brains are thinking about things at all times, and without any intentionality, negative things fill our brains and positive things. And when you're doing affirmations and, the focus on, the bigger picture, higher power, giving things up, you are replacing a lot of the negativity with, positive things. And the power of your brain having those be front and center, as opposed to the fear of this, the worry of that, like, they weigh you down subconsciously and consciously all the time. And I don't think people understand. And I'm calling this out because I have friends, had teammates, even my kids sometimes will, like, jokingly, like, you sound cheesy, Dad, like, or you sound like, that, gosh, it's, you're always making it some, like, bigger thing. But that's how we ward off letting the negativity consume us. And, I think faith serves a huge purpose in creating that, right? And so for people in general, when you look at that conversation of a morning and all the things that matter, we have said this over and over, right? Consistency. We can have an inspirational moment, but what are the disciplines that he talks about or that he alludes to help people establish those routines? Like, and what do we think is, some good points to make? Because I can do that one day on Monday, and then Tuesday through Friday I don't. And
yeah. So he suggests you start with like 2 or 3. You don't do all 6, and you get consistent at them, like a 90-day, right? Mm-hmm. So you do 2 for 90 days, then add a 3rd one the next 90 days, and a 4th one, depending on, what you can be consistently good at. So I think the consistency is more important than the 6, right? To do 2 well, then add a 3rd and a 4th and a 5th, right?
So the important part of it is to really sit down and realize what of the 6 are you doing. If you're getting up and you're reading every morning and you're doing your exercise, you have to be able to say, I am doing these well. What can I add into it? And then what can I then add on to that? And so it's like you don't sit down to eat an elephant. You have to you got to have several. You got to have several meals.
Yeah.
So it's being consistent with what you're already doing. Add a little bit to it, and that comes back to the compound effect.
Same.
Is that each thing that you do well is going to lead to something else that you're doing well.
Correct. So yeah, I think that's important. Then another good call out is that you start and you get it dialed in. And for me, I do it 5 days a week, and I take weekends off. I don't do anything on the weekends. I completely check out. But on my Monday through Friday, like, I don't miss one of the 6. I do all 6 Monday through Friday. But that's been a learning curve. Like, I've had to really,
So should we as a group, should we try this and then report next Friday?
I like that
on
idea.
What we think we do well and describe it, and then what we've added.
I think we should definitely hold ourselves accountable to it. And I was just going to add that to that point, right? It's the self-awareness of all of us that we're all challenged. I mean, the most important, I just had this conversation with another friend of mine on my other podcast, the Triple J Sports podcast. The greatest indicator of success is self-awareness, right? Like, and it's one of my coaching buddies, and this applies in the sense of the self-awareness of what positive effect am I experiencing from the things that I am doing, to reinforce that this is worth doing, right? I'm aware that there's a positive effect when I do it, and I'm aware that there's a negative when I don't. And then when you are able to identify that, that's to me, that's the first step in creating discipline around consistency, is the recognition of the effect and impact it has. Otherwise, when you feel too tired or distracted, there's nothing to draw you in to say, I need to do this regardless. Like, this is to me, that is what's missing a lot of times from whether it's self-help or motivational things, is people don't go through and have a genuine evaluation of themselves to figure out how it affects them, because that's the only way to inspire you to get through the fatigue, the distraction, the whatever is going to get in the way. You have to have an awareness of the effect it has on you.
So, that kind of brings me to the question is, there's so many examples in life about, I should be doing this, but I'm just not. I'll give you the example of, I need to lose weight. We won't say how much, but I need to lose weight. So we know that everybody goes through this. It's like, oh yeah, you look in the mirror and you say, wow, I really need to lose weight. And then you go out and you sit on the couch and you eat chips and watch television and you don't do anything about it. What is the catalyst? There's always, I think there has to be some catalyst to where, even though you're intelligent and to be successful, and this is where I bring it into the conversation of what we all do, to be successful, there's no lack of evidence of, here are the things that you need to do to be successful. We're talking about a book this morning that here are the 6 things you need to do before 8 a.m, and this will help you be wildly successful. But we could come up with a bunch of other books and things that describe, to be successful in sales, you have to make 200 calls a day and check. We all know the things. So what is it? Where is the catalyst a lot of times that comes along? Because maybe for someone that needs to lose weight, a lot of times it's like you go to the doctor and they say, oh, dude, you're going to die sometime soon if you don't. And it's like, oh, okay, now I'm going to pull out the tennis shoes and go for a run.
Right.
So what is it in business? How do we get this across to people that, dude, you need to pull out the tennis shoes, put them on, and go for a run, not just look at them there in the closet. So what is that catalyst? I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I think, I think for me, leading by example is you need to do that as a leader. If you're going to tell your people to do certain things, you got to lead by example. That's number one. Number two, for me, what's worked is to do a reset every 15 days. So the first of the month and the 2 weeks, I'll reevaluate if I'm trying to execute one discipline. Let's just say it was losing weight, because that's a big one for everybody, or not drinking, another big one. So I think the misstep is trying to do too much out of the gate. So if you're trying to lose weight, maybe you say, I'm not going to eat bread, I'm not going to eat chips. So you start there. You start with something small. I know that's okay. You're not going to eat chips, but you
what the hell is wrong with you?
Too much, and I think people fail and then they give up. So for me, and I like wine, I like a margarita now and then, right? So for me, I took out drinking during the week, but on the weekends I drink. That helped me, because I was catching myself having a drink of wine when I got home, because I had relaxed, and my husband was like, I think you're dependent, and I'm like, yeah, I am actually. It helps me calm down. But I think if they take small steps, they'll see success, and then they reset every month or every 2 weeks and go, okay, that didn't work, I need to reset.
Yep. Well, that small step piece, I think what you just kind of laid a perfect example of what I think everybody really to achieve success has to do. And it's an internal thing no one can do for you, but people can, as leaders and as coaches, you can help draw that out of people, which is, in the moment where you're making the decision, there are reasons that you do things, right? So to sit down on the couch and eat chips, why? What is it that's doing for you? And what is it that draws you to doing that over something else that would be, going out for the run?
Right.
Why do you feel the need to drink wine to relax? Like, understanding yourself in that moment, in that decision, is something that we all have to, you get to the core that I'm armed with the ammunition about why I would make this choice, what it does, and I need to replace it with information that helps me make this choice. And that is a much more personal type of thing that every person has to go through. But I think as coaches and leaders, that's why it always matters that that person in your life that's helping you as a leader or coach cares enough about you to help draw that out, so they understand and they can help you find those reasons. Because if I don't see that decision as it's unfolding, I don't know how to break the habit of making that decision. And I think that's a big part. And everything we just talked about from that book is a recognition of someone building habits to establish that you're making a decision that pushes you in the direction you want to go and making the connection. So I think that, if you haven't read the book, if you haven't listened, that is definitely something that, to our audience, worth checking out. Certainly, this is one of those conversations we could have forever, right? Circularly, because all of these, criteria are really, really relevant. So to kind of push us into another lane of it, like forward to the coaching and the catalyst question as well, from a business perspective, now you're into your days and you're thinking about why. Trust is a big part of what we're all establishing, trusting ourselves, trusting our instincts, trusting our decisions. And it's the same thing we're establishing with our interpersonal relationships. And we've talked so much about AI, and we've really emphasized the importance of presence on social media, and we continue because it's relevant. But and I know I'm telling a couple stories here to connect the dots, but I really want to take us here is, for business, right? And I said this to you guys before the show, right? Business happens at the speed of trust, right? Like, there's all these things that we're doing, but ultimately no one makes the decision to buy. No one makes the decision to sign on the dotted line. No deals are made unless there is a trust established and an agreement that's built that you both trust is in place. And it's from the very smallest dollar transaction to the biggest multi-billion-dollar deal. Trust, and it comes in many ways. As a salesperson and as a company with customers, it's building trust. We're talking social media, AI. There are so many things that affect your ability to build trust, and so many reasons people don't trust. There's a story out right now, and I'm gonna shut up after running the NBA story. Have you guys seen the NBA story?
Man, it's
going
crazy. And this is like all of a sudden within the last 48 hours.
None of it surprises me. I'm not quick to judge the guys that are involved as far as being guilty or not. I'm innocent until proven guilty, but the storyline represents something really interesting. So it's Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones, who played many years in the NBA with LeBron James, probably the most known NBA player, second to Michael Jordan of all time, and another guy previously, Jonte Porter, that was kind of started this, and then the Terry Rozier. So there's like several NBA guys that were arrested, right, for our audience who hasn't paid attention, connected to a major gambling and fraud scheme. Chauncey Billups, the story with Chauncey is not related to fixing NBA games as far as I understand. As far it's literally being a face guy of, hey, you want to play poker with NBA celebrities? Come up and play. And then they listed literally mobs like Gambino family and all these, mafioso. They were fixing the poker card games with high-tech devices. And then Terry Rozier was like the prop betting thing, similar to Jonte Porter, where sharing information. And without going into like the crazy depth off top, that's a trust thing that establishes, like, we as people, we as consumers are all worried about being taken advantage of somehow, right? Yep. On the mortgage side, if I'm giving you all my private and personal information to a bot, fear that what are you going to do with that? Because there's plenty of examples. On the title side, getting taken advantage of and someone sending me a message and me losing all my money. All of this around trust and being authentic in social media is you're trying to really connect the dots that as much AI comes out, this is still our human experience. We still don't trust because we don't want to be taken advantage of. So I thought, as I was reading the story and watching it the last few days, we're talking about, and this is a great example of why trust matters. So I wanted to kind of shift us there on, like, if you don't think people want to have trust with you, like, look at all the things that happen in our world that make us afraid of, making the wrong decision, and how critical trust is. So what do you guys think about that, the story?
One of the things that everybody that I've talked to, everybody says, well, I'm not surprised. And I think that the "I'm not surprised" comment comes from, because whether it's fixing a NBA game or a football game or a poker game or whatever it is, people have been arguing about calls or who won the game for forever and ever. And so it's one of those things that it's just gotten worse and worse over the years, just little stories here and there. So trust is a big thing. I think a lot of people have kind of started tuning out of some of the professional sports just because it's like, I'm hearing too many stories, that type of stuff. They're getting tired. But it is crazy, and it's tough with social media nowadays, especially if you look at social media. AI can make things. It can take someone's image, and you can see them talking, but it's changing their words, and that athlete would never say all those terrible things about the rest of his team. Like right after a loss, the main player's going, well, I did my job, but the rest of the players, they all suck.
They all went on vacation, and they're terrible.
I don't know what's wrong with them, but, I still did my – and you're going, that looks like he's saying that, but there's no way that he would actually say that. The same way with politics, the same way with everything. So distrust is huge. I'll tell you another story. This was just yesterday. I had the craziest day yesterday. So I was really proud of James because he had a borrower that he had been working with, first-time home buyer, using a down payment assistance program, got the guy, the couple, all the way got him approved, got documents drawn, and then all of a sudden he calls me and he's going, I don't know what's going on. They don't want to sign the documents. They telling me that they're going to back out, and all this story. And I said, okay, so let's think about this. And I told him, I said, first time home buyers, they're scared to death. What they're looking for is someone that has confidence, and someone that says to them, it's okay. Yeah. And he said, yeah, I'm going to go and talk to him. So on my way home last night, I called him and I said, so how's it going? And he was like upbeat. He says, I sat down with him. I actually gave him a hug, and I told him, look, don't be scared. And he went through that, and just the being authentic with them, and kind of sitting down where they're at, being totally scared.
Human connection.
Given the human connection, totally turned it around. They signed their documents. It's going to fund today, and he just made that realtor's month, because he was the one that had the human connection. He sat down with them on their level, knowing that they were scared. And so it's the human connection that really pulls things together. So how do we utilize AI to actually help with that?
Well, I would say, and you nailed it, I think in the next, 1 to 3 years with AI rolling out and with AI getting more sophisticated. So we can kind of see when it's AI a little bit. There's certain words and voice inflections you're like, that's not real. But it's going to get better.
Exactly.
And they're going to get better. But I think that really tells you when you're looking at your marketing strategies, because you asked me how to use it in business, I think more and more importantly is authentic videos. Not perfect, poised, makeup, hair, everything. Really down to earth, authentic videos, and also customer interaction. This is for real estate agents and lenders, picking up the phone, not emailing, really building that relationship. Mm-hmm. Those are going to be the ones who really rise, that can leverage AI for information only, but really keep that connection tight and really authentic. And that, I think that's the word for 2026, is being authentic and video, because you can really show your authenticity through video. And I think people need to embrace it a little bit more.
And it should be the thing that helps the people that are most maybe apprehensive about
doing
being
video
imperfect over video, to go like, that's your strength. Whatever it is, that's who you are. Be that person. And that's actually where maybe people previously 10 years ago might have looked and you know, I haven't done any analysis on like the videos and social media, like commercials that were more perfectly polished and all. I know as a consumer personally, I would rather watch someone and know for sure that's them, and you know, see that they said and and it's a person, not a perfect commercial, if I'm trying to make a decision about whether or not I trust that person. And so for people that are really like, I don't want to get on social and be judged because I have this nervous habit, or that's what you need to lean into. Just, you can get better and get more polished and all of those things. And God knows I need to. We all do. But that's what makes you human. And so if you're apprehensive, understand that's your asset now. Like, because if I go and watch an AI video, it won't be imperfect. It will be what that person designed it to do.
Yeah, I do think, though, imperfection, people love imperfection, and they love mistakes because it makes them more relatable.
For sure, especially how you handle it.
Perfect for you, Buzz.
That's perfect for me.
Yeah, like
bend over, hit your head on the mic, and trip and fall. You know,
it's how you handle it is a big part of what builds rapport too, right? And you know, I think a good comparison is how many times over the years I have coached this concept. You're an advisor. You're there to do what's best for the client. Don't look at situations where you clearly are in a position to give them advice that is in the opposite of your best interest as a salesperson and be down on it. That is the best chance for you to build trust, is to tell them what they know, what they need to hear, because it's what's best for them, including, hey, you know what? Like, I'm not the person that you should be talking to for this, because you know what? There's a better person. Let me send it, because that person knows you're not trying to sell me for your own benefit, for a commission or your own selfish interest. You're giving me a chance to have the best possible outcome for myself.
And salespeople are so scared of that. That's one of the hardest things in the world to do, because of the mentality of scarcity, where I'm looking at this person and I'm getting ready to recommend that they don't work with me, that they go and do something different. And the problem with that is internally I'm going, oh my God, I'm pushing this person away. What they don't understand is the more times that they do that, the universe brings back tenfold, because that person is going to tell other people, yeah, you need to call this guy, because if he can help you, he'll help you. But if he can't, he knows where you can get the information. And people go, that's the guy you need to trust. Yeah. And that's the hardest thing for salespeople to do.
Yeah, that scarcity abundance mindset is huge.
Yep.
That's a huge effect. And like I said, you know, if business happens at the speed of trust, and we want trust because that trust creates predictability, then I can feel confident in it. And your reputation being built on trust, that compounds like interest, right? It grows and grows, because the more of that you do, the greater your predictability as a professional is to your partners and your clients. That's what needs to be connected in all of your social media, your communication, not perfection.
Right.
And there's an element of that. So I think the trust piece with some of these stories, it really hit to me. Like, I'm reading it, like, obviously I'm a big basketball fan, you know, sports fan in general. Like, I think there's a lot more to it. And I honestly think it's just the tip of the iceberg, because I think there's a tremendous amount of this going on. Because there's very logical, like, just like we were talking about with morning routines, human traps that people fall into where they can get to these places with the way the laws are now. And as I watched it, I just thought, you know what? I can't help but make the connection to what borrowers go through when they are giving all their information to go apply for a loan, and that all the things they worry about, the outcomes and the stories that they've heard, and how important it is for James, for professionals to instill trust and the ability for them to believe I'm in good hands. These people are not going to take advantage of me. This isn't somebody in a foreign country running a scam that's going to take my information. They're not going to get hacked. And these are all real fears of our customers today in this industry. And a story like this just highlights it. So you mentioned this before with like title, the scams to, defraud people of hundreds of thousands of dollars in many cases, and what it takes to reassure people, the process that human beings have to do to connect the dots to make sure that that doesn't happen. We deal with it all the time. So what, would be your advice to, people right now in our industry and to customers surrounding this as much as we push technology to solve that problem? Like what's the fix?
The funny thing is, the fix is to have communication with the escrow officers that they're closing the transaction with, actual communication, not email, not text. Pick up the phone, make sure that we're doing the right wire transfer, that this is all. That's probably the best suggestion I can. And I hate to say that, but it's
the technology out of it.
It is actually taking the technology out of it and really creating a personal connection with your closer, your escrow officer. Well,
think about what you just said. Prior to all the technology,
correct,
did we ever have these issues?
We did not.
And the answer is no, because, well, first of all, the technology wasn't there to just sweep someone's money out of their accounts. But it's one of those things where you have to, you almost say, let's go back to basics. Going back to basics is take the technology out of it, make a phone call, have that direct conversation about, was this sent from you, whatever the case is. I think on our side, from the mortgage side, I yesterday was a weird day. I interviewed a young guy, and he wanted to know, well, what is the customer experience? If I came to work at Big Valley, what's the customer experience with your loan officers? And I kind of reflected back, and I said, well, this is a real individual type of business. Every company, basically, you have to take a loan application. It has to be processed. An underwriter looks at it. We draw documents, and then we fund it. So everyone's steps are the same at every company, but it's from a standpoint of the individual has to come in and personalize that customer experience. And I think that most people go through their business kind of asleep. Like, oh, I've got a new lead, and they start working on it, and then another one comes over here, and they don't have a well thought out plan of, this is what I'm going to do on every file. I'm going to meet with the client. I'm going to provide this. Then they're going to get these educational pieces. It's where you can lean in on the technology to say, these are things that I'm going to enhance the experience, because they're going to feel educated and included and, motivated. And so I believe that the customer experience, each individual salesperson has to be totally lean in with the tools that we provide, but you have to come in with your own personal, these are the things that I'm going to do for every client. When it closes, I'm going to do these 3 things. I'm going to send them a gift. I'm going to add them to this follow-up system. But you have to have this high touch, I believe,
I think process. You're right. And if you look at the industry as a whole, your top producing escrow officers, your top producing loan officers, real estate agents, they all provide that one thing, which is what? The personal touch.
It's
doing that something extra that connects the customer to the escrow officer, the realtor, the lender. They all do that. That is the secret sauce. I agree with you. A loan officer that is consistently doing touches throughout the whole transaction to tie that customer, and at the very end do a wow about the end of the closing. And then also, if you're working with a title and escrow company that's doing the same, that experience is going to be so amazing that what do? The average person knows 200 people. They're going to go tell all their friends. And really, the people that have understood, your best salesperson is your customer. They're going to go tell 200 people, Buzz is the best lender in town, Phil's the best lender in town, because the experience was so exceptional.
Well, and you said, the loan officer and the escrow officer title company, but the realtor.
The realtor as well.
That team. Even your ancillary inspectors, and that's why the really good people have a complete team. I always get my roof inspections by this dude because
he delivers.
He delivers. He's going to go out there. His report looks good. It's understandable. He does the follow-up. It's the little things. That you build this team.
So to me, all those things are on point, and I think to just from a slightly different perspective, my view with respect to our salespeople is you need to take the relationship you form to create and instill trust in the tools that you're using for your clients so that they can trust using it, so they can get the value out of it. So when I look at a process and I think, cool, this provides scale and bandwidth and time, and this does this great thing for the customers, it's only as valuable as the trust that we can create in that for our customers, for them to use it, leverage it, and get its benefits. So as a human, that's the focal point in what you establish with your clients. Is you get on the phone. Perfect example, when the new age kind of digital loan application took place, the experience was the loan officer had to get on and explain to the client how to use it, why it was valuable, what it could do for them, and to help them understand why they were doing that, so that then they could get the benefit of it. It didn't just instinctively become the thing that they did. So when you're a salesperson, your job is to build trust in the tools that give them a benefit.
Yep.
And that's massively, to me, where the disconnect happens. They're not two separate entities. There's not technology and the person. You need them to be merged in how you present it. So, I think we always emphasize, scale and growth and all that as business people, because we should, and we emphasize trust and the one-to-one. And the truth is, right, you can use the technology to create scale in communication, like how much you communicate. But really, the authenticity component that we just touched on is how you create scale and trust, right? That's how you scale out the trust. And so I could not argue a stronger case especially for a sports guy like me, to see an example of how trust is always threatened in our society and in human interaction since the beginning of time. And that's the job we're here to fill, is to build trust.
And it can disappear in a second.
Absolutely.
Look at what's happening with the NBA. I mean, this is their opening weekend, and it's been nothing. The news cycle has been nothing but negative. Leading up to the opening weekend, kind of a disaster for them.
Well, I read this, so I'm not going to take credit for this, but I'll give you a perfect example of the NBA viewership trust metrics. Go through your database of clients, and instead of referred loans, business done, transactions, closed homes, forget it, referral partners, and just do a trust evaluation. Do they trust me? Do they not? Have I gone to the depths of they trust me on a personal level? Go through and do that, and the conversion metrics on that, guaranteed. If the answer is yes, they trust you, that's a business relationship that's successful. If you can't say yes, then the metrics are going to be different. But there is 100% component of, if they trust you, there's a relationship there on the business front. But
100%.
if you go and look at your databases, and we all do, there's a whole bunch of people in there that we can't honestly say in many cases we have built trust with yet.
Well, it probably, in a lot of databases, they probably don't even remember you because you haven't reached out to them.
So I think that's the key point, right? Is look at it through the lens of trust. So I thought it was really cool. Not to mention, on the athlete side, there's always something that we see as sports fans and stuff, and as business people. I mean, when you start talking scale and volume and connectivity, I think where it becomes overwhelming is, well, how do I build trust with that many people? And we're talking about it all the time in our day-to-day lives with what social media is and what it isn't. And, no matter how many times you say it, it's being authentic, it's being consistently present. And then it's also being intentionally thoughtful about providing value. And I think that's as we kind of wrap this week, having a little bit of fun, with it.
Well, speaking before talking about the being authentic, is why do we love bloopers so much? Why you go to a movie, and how many movies have you sat there and the movie ended and you haven't gotten up yet, and then all of a sudden they do bloopers, and you stay for another 5 minutes because you almost enjoy that more than you did the movie. And we love bloopers because that's the true authentic person coming out. Like you're watching something like Game of Thrones, very serious and life and death, and then all of a sudden there's a blooper where they mess up their lines, and the villain that you think, oh man, I hate that guy, all of a sudden he's the one that's he's the funniest guy on the set. And we love that kind of being authentic to the audience, because then all of a sudden you're going, oh, I love that guy.
Yeah.
He's awesome. Mm-hmm. So being authentic it draws people to you.
And that on that point, I'll just say where I personally have found I wouldn't say the greatest confusion or conflict is understanding the balance between self-improvement and leaning into authentic, right? And I think those two things don't always get properly evaluated and analyzed. Like there's a difference between getting better at having a conversation, being better on camera, like we've had conversations, filler words, and abandoning your authentic self, right? And leaning into it. So I'm going to use just a silly, funny example. We have some people I know personally that are they're very short. They don't talk. They don't say a lot. They don't have long answers for whatever reason. Abandoning that, and that's who they really are. To me, being authentic is leaning into that and creating an entire, presence that leans into that. Like instead of getting better and giving long, drawn-out answers, just create extended questions and answer it in one word and make it funny. Like, yes, no, okay, fun. Like that's authentic, and you can play with it versus
Jim Crawford.
Jim, and he wonderful human being, phenomenal, great person. But that's like a great example of that's what people trust. There's a connection versus trying to become a social media personality.
Yes.
And there's nothing right or wrong. But I think that's, I guess, a point sometimes I look at and go, self-improvement means I work to get better at this area, but when are we becoming inauthentic and trying to be something we're not?
Not my true self.
I think that's I don't know. I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on that, because that's not always like a clear line for people unless they actually know who they really are.
Yeah. I think it's important to surround yourself with people that will tell you the truth. Like you just talked about Mr. Crawford being short, and I agree with you. I think you should leverage who he is and make it funny, but that's why you need to surround yourself with people that are honest with you. Like, Phil, I love that sport coat, or no, don't wear that next time. I actually do like it.
It looks ridiculous on me, yes.
you have to have friends that are willing to tell you the truth. I mean, and I have
your hair.
On my social media. Early on, I used to use this like a really heavy filter. Like, they're like, stop using that filter. Well, I would film in the morning, so I would use a filter because I didn't want to do my makeup. But they told me, they go, stop doing that, right? Like, you need people that will tell you the truth. So I think that's mentorship. and your maybe your 5 closest friends that tell you what you should do.
Tell you the truth. Yep. Yeah. And development is not being inauthentic. And I think that's the point. Like getting self-improving, recognizing your strengths and your weaknesses is not. Why I bring it up is that I think throughout times in my career, that constant growth mentality of like, I'm just going to get better at this. I'm not great at this. That's very normal. But then then it's the recognition of, you know what, but I really hate that. Yeah. Like I really just don't enjoy it. So even if I get good at it, I'm never going to love doing that. And that'll
always show.
And it'll always show. So even if you're doing it, you're not going to go home and feel great or in that environment. I think just as a kind of general thought point, when people say be authentic, I think sometimes people don't totally understand what that means in terms of applying it.
Yep.
So this was fun today. I'm kind of enjoying kind of pivoting. A couple times when you were talking, I was picturing you taking out like a hammer and chisel and, documenting some things. Well, the 50 years in the business. I know I give you a hard time on it, but that mentality and the messaging from that day and age was not any different than today. Yeah. It's just we're more bombarded by more ways that we can get more information and more things that we have to make decisions on faster, which breeds more room for mistakes and errors. And that, is why what we're saying is so important. And you, as we kind of wrap, you are the consummate connector, right? I mean, if we go week after week here, and just, I got in the business when in 06, 07, and you were one of the first people that I met when I was a baby-faced, knucklehead, maybe not baby-faced, still a knucklehead. And you've always connected with people. You've always been someone who, people are excited to see. And obviously that's a part of who you are. What would be your advice to people who struggle, in the sales world to be social and like connect, and they're really, they're more of the introverts? Any, advice as someone who's in that lane?
A simple fix for that is whenever you go to any event or social event, be intentional and try to get and meet 3 people at every event. And I've done that at every event. I've like 3 business cards. They don't have to be like your targets. They could be anybody. It could be like a roofer, an agent, or a lender. And just be intentional with your meetings and then follow up the next day. And really care about that person. Figure out, what do they need to make them successful? Because the more people you help, the more successful you'll be. And I think that was Zig Ziglar, and it really is true. Figure out who you met and how you can help them, and then they in turn will help you. And that's how you connect.
That's wonderful advice. Nothing I could pile on top of that.
She is the queen at networking.
Absolutely.
It's many years, Buzz, at many events.
When we worked together, I would try to hit as many events and in meetings, and it'd be like, oh yeah, no, Julie's already been here, brought the donuts and left. I'm going, how did she get here before me? So
a lot of events.
Yep.
In your lane. Well,
fantastic.
Best advice, best way to wrap the show. So thank you both again.
Yep.
Thank you as always for not just the conversation, but the wonderful insights, and for sitting in a room with me for more than an hour, which is in all of itself a massive task.
And we're going to
hold each other accountable
on next Friday on what we're doing with the Miracle Morning
and Savers. Silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing. Yep.
Okay, we're gonna hold, and we need to probably get the book from.
I'll get it.
What's the other book that we talked about? Small Improvements.
Slight Edge and Compound Effect.
Compound Effect. That's the one I was thinking.
Got them all.
All right.
Okay.
Let's go down to my office. Rock and roll. Another episode of the Blitz Parade in the books. We enjoyed you guys tuning in. Thanks again, Buzz, Julie. I'm your host, Phil Rasmussen, and we will see you next week. Have a great weekend.
Thanks.
Thank you.